Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week in this world. Paco, how are you?
Yes, AI world.
AI
This
world,
AI
yeah.
world.
Everything
Yeah.
is AI, won't stop. And well, I always
Every
have
week
this
it's
feeling of like being in a warp, where
yeah,
in
the
warp
Matrix.
speed. That's
The
the
Matrix.
feeling you get, and I know why. I talked to my friend last time, and he got the same feeling. Everything moves so fast, and I think one of the reasons is when you have very complex tasks that you give AI and you think, okay, this will be tough, and AI gives you back, yeah, the team will take about 4 to 5 weeks to do it. And if you do this, it will
Yeah.
be another month on top of it. And you hit enter, and 2 minutes later, the things are done. That's, I think, what gives you this perspective of, man, things are just rushing. And that's
Yeah.
why in the back end, we are building something that makes this also more transparent, that it becomes more tangible what you actually did all the time. Exciting times. Nothing to share yet, but as you know us, we are constantly improving. Today, we talk about the other topic that we think is still missing, and that gets added now to the ICOR journey too, to double down on something that people completely underestimate when it comes to note taking and personal knowledge management. It is daily journaling. And I made a video about that you can perfectly use AI for daily journaling easier than ever. And I'm not a good a person who sticks to daily journaling, right? I never saw the reason behind this, and to me, it was just giving friction when it comes to connecting the dots in the past. And there needs to be a lot of additional work to put in to make sense in the future. But AI just removed all this friction, so I keep now capturing whatever comes across, and I know perfectly the myPKA folder that we created here, the instructions AI has, it connects everything together. And then Serendipity is the other thing on top that now resurfaces anything that is relevant right now to me, by the way, not only randomly, but based on my current situation, brings up things that might be useful for me in my current situation. That's the
Totally.
that's the things that my mind keeps blowing. I That's why no hair at all anymore since years already. But now I think my whole skin is now peeling off because it's so crazy what's going on in this world.
Yes, and I think that there has always been this, and that's why people tend to avoid it. Okay, because I think that mainly I think that there are two approaches coming from the people to journaling. That one is therapy. Okay, that story of reflection, gratitude, and that happy mode life. Okay, that partially we can think that it works. Okay, and the second is just the diary. Okay, I will write everything step by step, the things that I have done and all that, and that obviously creates a friction, both of them, because the thing is, talking about therapy, I don't know. At the start of the day, starting with therapy, I don't know. And at the end of the day, man, you want to go home, and then therapy. Maybe you play the therapy game in your car or whatever, but it's really difficult. Okay, I mean, for busy professionals, I don't know if people in the world of academics or people that are in not such a fight, okay, every single day, then they can bet on that. And diary is exactly the same, okay? The moment that you want to start writing, so many things have happened that at the end you say, man, I cannot write down right now that I have still 1,000 pending tasks, okay, to start writing about the last 100 that I missed out, okay? So it's impossible. It's impossible. And that's how journaling, I think that has been always approached, and it's impossible. Okay, it was literally impossible. Doesn't matter if you do it well. If you do it on paper, good luck. But even with digital tools, it's quite difficult too. Okay, also because there are tools that are specialized in different types of journaling. Okay, if you go to day one, that's the approach of diary and journaling and therapy, but it's I don't know. For me, it never worked for that. Okay, it was just for me. Day one was always memories. Okay, things that I want to be reminded in the future so that I can go back to those experiences. In my case, I know that you just bet on the good one. For me, all of them. Okay,
No,
because
I
for me
had
it was
highlights,
how.
and I always had highlights, and I had a tag lowlights. that I
Okay,
used. So
lowlights.
I actually
Well,
captured obviously the
well,
negatives too. So I know in the future, oh well, it could be worse.
for me, it was always the approach of better understanding your present time and also being able to admit that you have succeeded. Okay, I think that when you are fully focused on present time, you never thought about where you were not so long ago. Okay, and if you don't write it down, it's impossible. Okay, it's impossible because the brain tends to be focused on present and mostly in the future. Okay, you are always paying attention to the missing things that you are currently suffering. You don't think about the achievement. You never thought about the things that you have achieved, and that type of memories help a lot in that process, so that your present becomes much better and you get a motivational boost thinking about the future.
And
Okay,
here I
because
always bring
you
up
think that you can
the
repeat the thing.
and
Okay.
here I always bring up the example with YouTube, right? Because I used day one since 2015 up to this point where now everything is my local folder in the PKA folder. But since there, I reached 1,000 subscribers on YouTube on this channel that you're watching right now, and I have the screenshots and everything in there. And I had the serendipity of day one that was perfect because every year at the same time I got reminded that there was the thousands. Now we reached 100,000, and I think already about the next 100,000. And that's where you lose perspective with growth. That's really strange because how much I fought for the 1,000 subscribers, how long it took until 10,000, unbelievable. But so that's where staying humble, that's what these the serendipity brings to the table there, and also getting perspectives, because it's well, it is crazy when you think about it. 1,000 people in a room is already crazy. 100,000 is not only 10x, it's 100x the same thing, and yet it feels as the creator similar, and every other creator will tell you the same thing. So that's to me a great example to where it's worth noting down the feelings that you had with 1,000 subscribers, and there's no difference to the 100,000.
And I think that the combination of those two different approaches to journaling, plus being impossible to really stick to it, okay, is what made that journaling fall apart. And I think that that's a big mistake. And here we see it, okay, because there are many other approaches to journaling, okay, and journaling should be interpret, I think, like the start of a chain, okay? I mean, the inputs to the productivity system is the way that you start bringing information to the productivity system, so that is the ignition process of the of a whole productivity system end to end, okay? You start with the input stage in ICOR, okay? That it's, I bring information. It doesn't matter if maybe that information is an action, okay, at that moment. But the thing is that you bring something into your system. And the only way to do it properly is by journaling it. And with AI, this became even much easier, okay, because we just need to use natural language, and the entry will be properly stored to be retrieved in the future. And that's the huge steps that we have moved forward thanks to AI, that it's one, the capture has no friction, okay? The storage, it's done amazingly well because it gets perfectly stored. If it's a database, in the right table, if it has connections with some other tables, all the connections are made. You got the date perfectly signed in the entry. Well, many data that in the past was, I remember when we first saw those PKM tools that started with roamed, I would say, okay, that they started with a date, okay? You had a date as the home page when you started the tool. If you were used to Evernote or other note-taking tools, or even Apple Notes, okay? Nobody thought about starting with a date, okay? But a date, it's something that is quite useful, talking about adding an initial context to any entry for a productivity system, okay? So, those type of things were the ones that are starting, and completely, in my opinion, it completely removed the friction points to journaling, okay? Because now you can perfectly identify based on the shape of entry, and we will talk later on about that. We can perfectly assign to the corresponding project, key element, topic. You can route, I mean, these type of entries can go, for instance, to day one if you want, okay? And surface, I want that to appear at the right moment. In the case of day one, well, they appear 1 year after, for instance, or at any moment, if I'm inside a project, I want to see all the conclusions, the things about that project that I have previously stored. Well, all those type of things and all those type of actions are now made and delivered and executed on autopilot. Whereas in the past, it was someone. I always remember when I started in this Rome research approach, trying to create those backlinks, man, it was insane. It was insane. And I remember when I moved into Obsidian, and then you had two different, okay, the ones based on, well, the Obsidian criteria based on the word that you were writing, and you decided to know if one needed to be forced or not to create those hard link versus soft link. Well, it was a nightmare in the middle of the chaos, okay, of a day for a busy professional. And now that has completely changed. And now we have systems where you can perfectly journal, no matter the type of journal that you can create. Everything gets interconnected perfectly. Have you had experience, by the way, with an insane amount of nodes? Because that's the thing. Also, we are talking about volume, as always. Any system can be perceived as the perfect system the moment that you are just, well, talking about dozens of entries. But the moment that you move to thousands or even millions of things, it becomes, well, it becomes something that you end up living there, and then you keep surviving and forget about it. But that's why we consider that it's so important that we will create a specific and wide lesson about this, because the moment that you execute proper journaling is the moment that you really get the advantages of having a PKA, okay, a personal knowledge assistant, where information becomes something tangible and useful for you. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the YouTube channel, I published another video about journaling and how it replaced day one and so on for me. There's local folder and AI. And there I got a comment then, outside of Germany, nobody would be journaling. And if I would have a different use case, or I don't even remember. And I thought, what the heck? I don't know if this was perceived as a romantic thing that I do, especially I'm not the one who is the journaler. It's Paco who was doing this consistently. So what the heck, man? And that's where it was the first trigger to me to realize maybe it's not clear what journaling really is. It's not like the student sitting there and making beautiful pictures in the journal. It's really about, I consider meeting notes journaling, right? That's the thing.
Correct.
I'd write down the
indeed.
insights from the meetings. All these things, these are considered as journaling. And that's how we use the PKM tools like Heptabase and Tana in the past, because we've been writing down. While we've been writing, we've been already connecting the information with other existing nodes and all this. And that was already great to do. So I see, for example, on YouTube here, a comment, I like Obsidian for journaling. So there's also a daily journal in there. And that's exactly what you do there too. The interconnection, to link the things together the moment they appear, because then it's done. If you do this in the end of the day, you cannot properly remember what was going on really to get the context. And AI is now removing this friction, because now I just need to capture, and I based on the rules, understands how to connect it to other things, create new entities, like in your people's table, right? Creating a new person that you just mentioned for the first time, or give you feedback and ask questions about it. So that's where journaling goes way beyond just aspirational things. And I want to address a question inside our member chat here about, I'm curious of how my PKA manages business. The examples in the structure seem designed for personal. Also, I have many customization questions. For example, I can change the agent names, that's already covered inside the chat. But I want to address this multi-business approach that we get a lot of questions. What about if I have multiple businesses? How do I manage my business through this? And that's where we said that you can perfectly use my PKA depending on volume, right, and complexity of your business, to do everything in one folder. The advantage you have is you have always full context about everything. If you're a solopreneur, there's no problem. There's no issues with sharing information with team members and all these questions that arise the moment your complexity increases. Paco, he runs 4 businesses. He still just uses the myPKA to, well, not manage the businesses, right, Paco, but have this strategy thinking, the how things work. There's even a work stream where you create the articles that we can consider that you integrated with the myICOR product and the paperless movement business. And this is where we had in the past the IPA, Intelligent Process Automation, that's we called, which is a separate folder that was made, and that's what I'm still using right now, to manage the business. So we need to really distinguish here between our personal work and the teamwork. And this IPA was considered the team working inside the business. It has nothing to do with my personal knowledge. It has nothing to do with my personal tasks. It's like you working with human beings and giving them tasks to work inside the business. And this organization is covered in the ICOR framework in the business part, the business knowledge management and business project management. For those of you who are members and who know about the ICOR framework, we have these 4 circles that are, well, why don't I just show it?
By the way, while you look for the ICOR framework, I would just add something that it's understanding that journaling is a process that affects the individual. Okay, it's something personal. You don't create journal entry for the team. Okay, a journal entry is something that you do for yourself. Okay, to better understand something, to capture something, to represent an interaction that you have had, to store a milestone that you have achieved and you want to keep it recorded. Okay, so we need to associate and link journaling to the individual, to the personal area that we will see right now in the ICOR framework.
Correct. And it's not an issue to finding the framework. It is always an issue of having 5 monitors on one computer, and this thing keeps switching. Pushed it. There we go. And now the confusing thing was a comment that appears here from the previous session. I don't know why this is still showing here. What the heck? Well, technology. Okay, there we go. Now, so this is the ICOR framework, and that's still the old one because this is my personal tool stack, right? And this is where we have here still a Heptabase and Readwise that I've been using together with AI tools until the point where we now can replace this with my PK. And I have here a folder thing. I can drag this in. I remove now these 2 tools. And this is my current setup now. That's the PKA folder that I use with Claude. So I can drag and drop Claude onto this to represent this. And now I'm using Claude on this local folder. And this is the PKM area, this circle here, personal knowledge management. But what about action? That's the personal project management here. So I need to organize myself for work. So, but where is this work coming from? It's coming from the business. So this is the business project management that is aligned with the business goals. There you have projects. All this is defined by the ICOR methodology to have a proper top-down approach to all the way down to the individual task that you're working on. And here we are still using ClickUp, where we have our goals set, there are the projects, there are tasks, and if a task is assigned to me, I organize myself to work on these tasks. And now we have the business knowledge management as well, and as you can see, ClickUp is on the overlap, so therefore we do business knowledge management inside ClickUp too, like standard operating procedures, guidelines, all these things live in here. We are currently working on something else to actually replace this too, because we have such a streamlined use case that we can do this, but it depends on complexity. But we will never be able to replace all this. And now getting back to the question about private versus business. Looking at the ICOR framework, it should make sense now. So we are here in the PKA. I can consider, if you want to expand it, to move it here and use it for both. Yeah? Using action. Paco, nobody knows, but now they will. You created your own planner application inside your own personal knowledge management and PKA tool. So you now have connected your Todoist and your ClickUp, something that we used previously Sansama for to get the planner, but it works. But do we recommend this for others to build? No, because you don't get the point yet how these things work. And that's why, as long you don't understand why you're using what tools, you need to start a bit earlier before you move on to build something for yourself. So this being said, you see, it just sits in this one circle. So the folder that you download from GitHub or on the course, this is just covering this area. So here I'm thinking about, as the business owner, I'm thinking about the business strategy. I'm thinking about the goals that we might come up and so on. The discussions I have with people. So if I have a meeting, this is where I write down the meeting notes / daily journaling, right? And this is where I grow my own life and approach to, well, as example, we always brought up, if you're sitting in a meeting and you want to fire somebody because he annoys you and he's destroying the company, you don't add this to the PKM system for everybody to see. You make a little note in your own black book, and then you go back to desk to calmly think about it. Is it really worth? Should I do it? How should I write the letter? And so on. And that's something that has nothing to do with the business. And we get so many times people asking, okay, this is working great. I want to share this now with my team so they can actually work inside there too. And that's something you should never do. That's something very custom. And now we get further, because these agents that work in there are also custom made. This is personal knowledge assistance. It's a bunch of AI agents helping you with your life. And this goes beyond work. It goes into your private life too. And that becomes the single source of truth for this. So when it comes to business, either you still use tools that are made for business, and I just mentioned it to Paco earlier this day. As a solopreneur, when I started out, I instantly had first Asana, and then I switched to ClickUp later on as a project management tool, as I was aware that I'm wearing different hats inside the business, and this is how I structured myself and were able to focus on what I need to work on and so on. And yet I still had personal knowledge management tools along with it as a solopreneur. And that's what people underestimate. They always say this ICOR framework is overkill for a solopreneur, but this is not true. You need to think, if you are a business person, right? You need to think holistically how this works. And once you have this set up and you start scaling now you're ready to scale, because it's already crystal clear who needs to get where. You add people to ClickUp and they start working in here, versus you stay organized as it is. And now consider having a separate business that has a complete different setup. See, this is the constant in your life. This is the thing that stays the same. You start expanding your PKA, you think about a different business, you have the thought process, you launch the business, but then the business itself is set up of different tools depending on the type of business. Paco, one of your businesses is a brick and mortar business. Obviously, you have a different set of things that you use with this business compared to a digital business, for example. And yet the thinking behind this remains in this personal area.
The thing is that people need to understand that here we represent, no matter that we call it personal and business, when we say business, we refer to team related. I mean, that it's related to the team, no matter that you are imagining when you are a solopreneur that you have a team of people there, no matter that they don't exist.
And
okay?
Here, I'll let you continue in a moment, but this is very critical what you mentioned here, because if we consider this way, then you will understand that you might need a separate AI team that replaces the human team in this area, and yet you still have different AI teams working for you personally. And that is the discrepancy there.
Because the meaning of the personal area is basically that. to better understand your whole life,
Yeah.
okay, from an holistic point of view, where you can perfectly store things related to a project that is managed by a team, okay? But you need your own understanding of the project. You need to reflect on that, to create notes, to maybe capture references out of the outer world, because there in the personal area, and talking about knowledge management, we deal with two different worlds. What we call inner world, that it's everything that emerges out of me, okay? A thought, a thing that I write down, versus the outer world, a video that I see outside, an article that I grab, whatever. And all that understanding is what's stored there, okay? The thing is that right now, you can perfectly have a pool of agents that can help you that much better understanding of your own world, because that's what we have perceived after consulting thousands of busy professionals, that having a place where they really understand what's going on in their lives, it's really difficult. Talking about information, that it's the area on top, personal knowledge management, and the actions that they need to be taken care of, that it's the world of personal project management, okay, that we can see down there on the left.
Yeah.
And the moment that you have under control that is the moment that you can start having a better understanding of your own existence, okay? That's why we create the My Life concept that brings the structure that you need to better understand your life, because it's by bringing a structure that first you can better understand it, but second, and this is even nowadays more important, you can perfectly explain what's going on in your life to the agents, okay? Yeah. Because the moment that agents really understand what's going on in your life, starting with information and following up with the world of action, is the moment that the outcomes that you receive are really impressive, okay? Because the moment that you bring coherence, understanding, real knowledge to all the strength of software like AI, it's the moment that everything runs really smoothly, okay? You create the inputs, okay? Using natural language, the AI create the right structure, and the AI, the moment that you consider, or the moment that they consider that that information is relevant to you, it will deliver the outcomes that you were expecting, and even more, the ones that you didn't expect at all, because that's the beauty of AI, and that's why we say that they are killing all the personal knowledge management tools, because they are making connections that I couldn't have figured out, okay? Because it's such an insane amount of information that we manage that it's impossible to see those connections unless there's a software behind with intelligence that really understands your life, and then it delivers the information the way that you are really shocked. And that's why we are Tom without hair and me losing a lot, because it's insane, okay? This is insane, because the more we bet into this structure, the better our AI agents start working, and the more impressive the outcomes are.
And that's where it becomes so important to have this local folder and your own setup where you make the AI session logging and updating their knowledge. And here we don't want to have Claude creating their auto memory and have some bits and bits in there. No, we want to have it in this local folder. So I can, first of all, switch to any model that I want, Gemini, Codex, and I will still have the same memory as Claude had the moment I start working with it. And second, it is much more useful for the AI, as it is interconnected in a complete different way than this auto memory, whereas I keep this in mind, then it keeps some basic information in mind, but it cannot follow traces to find answers to the questions that we have. And obviously here we can go wild, because everything is based on wiki links in a folder. Paco is using, well, me too, is using SQLite, so we have an upgrade path here, so you just tell Claude to upgrade this to SQLite, which is a database. It makes it more efficient. than just looking through all the markdown files. It has now an index, if you will, through the database. And then if you want to go further, you start vector databases where you have embeddings to make the search even more efficient. And by the way, token efficient, right? This saves you a lot of tokens.
Totally.
Compared to always pointing to a folder and start from scratch searching for things. So if you're constantly running out of tokens, I would be curious if you use our standard folder without any optimizations, what you get out there. But at this point, I just want to quickly mention we now have live the new myPK expansion packs inside the membership too. So the basic folder that you can get, this is just adding. So you see in there an expansions folder. So all you do, you pick what you want. Here, for example, something many people want is voice audio transcription, YouTube transcription downloads, all these things, or even the Slack integration that Paco showed in an article. You simply download this, put it into the folder, and the team will extract this for you and integrate it into your tool. And that's how we will keep expanding the basic functionality of the folder just by simply downloading more folders, and the team will take care. They're aware how to install this. And this is where everything starts to come together and makes it more flexible depending on your needs. Not everybody needs to develop an app, but our tool is certainly capable of, or this folder is capable of, because what you see right here on screen is built by this AI team. And a bit of me, but the thing is impossible to do this without a proper structure in mind, with guardrails, with SOPs and all these things that now AI helps you to get in place instead of letting it off rail. So I want to pick up some, yeah?
No, because I wanted to add, because I saw there the app expansion course. It's important because there we also show how you can create a new UX, and I think that the moment that you are able to create your customized UX, things becomes even further, okay? Because you are not tied to how a software company thinks about how your knowledge should be represented, okay? There are people who like the graph, some others that like the outlining, some others like, I don't know, a Kanban board. With that structure, you can start, okay, starting small, okay? A simple UX that little by little you can keep improving every single day. So there's a moment that it's not only the data itself that you receive, but the way that you receive it, because you are receiving the things the way you want them to be. And I think that that's how we always say that little by little, we as end users, if we are a little bit nerdy, we are able to build, because at the end, we don't need such complexity for our life, no matter how complex it is. And we have always said that out of the tools that we use, or for years, like Notion, Tena, whatever, okay? We just take advantage of maybe 15% of all the features. So the rest is noise, is rabbit holes that you get there. By seeing those features, you force yourself to go down through those rabbit holes and waste time, okay? Because you don't need at all that feature. But here, it's the bottom-up approach that we have always loved, okay? Because you start with something simple, and the moment that you need something that is pretty intuitive, because it's pretty just common sense, okay? You say, well, now I will deliver this different aspect or different topic or whatever. And that's how you start creating that specific and customized solution that it's unbeatable.
And this being
it's unbeatable
said,
because it's fully customized.
Correct. And that's being said, that's something we've been fighting for, building a customized interface. So we do this all the time for our own stuff, but for individuals it might be overwhelming, and that's why I kept showing Obsidian as the one that hooks into your folder so you can quickly have an interface to access your data and so on. And here's another sneak peek of the new expansion pack coming. It is Obsidian plugin that you will be able to download to actually represent this. If you just click here, you represent your PKA folder in this My Life concept. And well, as you can see, it's also based, let's go to CRM, people see, it automatically see that's the representation inside Obsidian. It's based on the myICOR styling, obviously, but you also have now here these concepts. You can instantly have your graph, and you will be just able to use your PKA folder. There's also then, that's really work in progress here, but here there will be also serendipity. It's all based on the live concepts. I can go here to key elements. I can open this up and you can immediately start writing in here. That's the advantage of Obsidian. And you have out of the box synchronization with your mobile and access through mobile by actually paying for Obsidian if this is really what you want. So we give you really all the flexibility with this folder that you either build your own, you use your Obsidian and do your own. By the way, just ask Claude to build a plugin for Obsidian in the way that you might want to have it. And or you use the things that we provide to you as members, so you can skip these steps and just use the things that we provide based on how we are using it. So this is the bottom-up approach that you just mentioned, and that's the new vision behind this expansion packs section here. And now I want to answer questions that I saw inside the live chat, inside the member chat, but also on YouTube. It was the question, the expansion packs are great, but what about the individual team members that the people were able to download previously? And no, they are not coming back. Now you're shocked, but there's a reason, because these individual team members, they were very specific for my use case, and we needed to have something more that is useful for you. And that's why these packs replace these agents. So with this app developer pack, you get these 3 agents, which is the front-end developer, you get the security expert, and you get the quality assurance, who helps you now to really level up beyond app development, by the way, even your own interface that you want to build and things like that. This is useful. And there will be also, right now, out of the box, there is Charter, Iris, and Pixel, which are designer agents that we put into the initial one, but they will get removed and will become an expansion pack, because we also see not everybody needs the designers too, but nothing is lost. Okay, so I see also a comment inside the chat about how to upgrade, and it's something we see many times, but that's something in the myPKA system. That's the course around this folder where we explain why the folder is built, how it is built. You can build it even yourself just by going through the lessons, and you can build it from scratch, so you really understand what you're using there. But there's also this bring your old knowledge in, and then here, this is where it explains how you can migrate from one folder to the other. But in the end, it is just pointing your existing system to the new one and asking what is different and make the update. This being said, as you might have not recognized, there are no huge updates coming, because this is the structure that we needed. Anything else that is coming will be just these expansion packs that you can add or not add, depending on if you think you need them or not. And that makes the whole thing much more flexible and keeps them in here. But getting back to the ICOR framework, this is where I hope with this session today we made it clear a bit more that there is also a different use case using AI in a different area, which is the business, where you have the work streams and AI is working as team members inside the business versus working for you individually to manage your life personally. That's really the big difference here. And there will be more coming when it comes to this business part, because we now fully already covered the personal part with AI, but obviously already with our ICOR journey, which hasn't changed in 4 years. The thing is that we just added is now the new extension of the My Life. So we now reached into the personal, the private life too, with habits and the goals. So everything is connected. And the new thing coming now this week to the note taking is the journaling lesson. So everything is there. So the myPKA is completely covered. And well, you will enter a whole new area when it comes to this, because now we cover not only business use cases for your personal world, but reach really your whole life. And this is really, really exciting. It becomes really the complete end-to-end thing. And I just want to cover very quickly, Paco, sorry, the question, but where do I start? Now you see this, it's overwhelming. And I saw from Kevin here the question as well. Should I go through all this content and then start building the PKA and the basics. No, just download the PKA, start using it, and then start understanding it by going through the content. And the other question from Kevin was also, what about the tool stack? Should I lay out the tool stack once I understand what it is all about? No, whatever tool stack you have, try to lay it out on here. And then you will realize over time how you rearrange this, because you get a better understanding. But this thing alone gives you an understanding of, oh man, these are all the tools I'm using. You just search for the tools, you list them out, and this will give you already insights of redundancies, subscriptions that you had still running that you can cancel, and things like this that come just out of this. So start just using this out of the box. Paco, now.
The thing that I was going to comment was exactly that we go back to the basics, and the exact same principles and concepts we are using to better explain AI are the ones that we were using before AI, because we always had all this structure of personal and business, team related, in our heads, okay? And the ICOR framework perfectly represents that. And now, more than ever, with this folder approach, okay, that it's at this moment the only approach that we have to create something customized based on AI. I'm pretty sure that, well, things will evolve. We don't know to where, but well, right now that's the thing. And that's the moment that people start understanding if they need one folder, three, or not folders and not AI at all, okay? Because that's something also important. You can be really productive without AI, okay? The moment that you have a protected system end to end, you are really productive. And before AI, a lot of professionals were productive because they understood this story and how to combine the things that they are sharing with the team and the company with their own understanding of that business or those businesses, plus the private life, because at the end, the professional is living inside everything, okay? And having a system where he or she can trust the information, the actions, what the priorities are, how to manage your time, all those type of things have become crucial. And the moment that you understand that graph, and the moment that you start sharing with the graph and putting there the different tools, is the moment that you will better understand what's the specific use case of each of the tools that you are using, okay? And the moment that you understand that is the moment that you can communicate that. You need to explain to AI absolutely everything, okay? That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that AI won't conclude amazing things, but you need to really be able to explain what your life is all about and how you have structured that. And for instance, the tool stack, okay? I was amazed the moment that I started sharing my ICOR framework with AI, when this becomes something possible and you were able to create your own PKA based on local storage, is the moment that AI start delivering amazing things. And it's the moment that the chat window, okay, or the chat text box becomes the entry point to anything at all in my system, okay? And that's the moment that everything starts to work differently, because at the end, what's happening is that you are working totally differently, okay? And that's what we are experiencing ourselves at a private level, but also little by little, well, I wouldn't say little by little, really fast in the business area, okay? The team area, how Tom and me are exchanging information with the agents that we have for the whole company. And that's what creates that sensation of fulfillment, of having everything under control, and also being able to delegate the things that you are really weak, okay, like handling a lot of tasks, a lot of information, a lot of documents, a lot of references that you have been capturing all day long on the internet, okay, and finally finding a sense to everything. And going back to the start of our conversation, I would say that this is the best way possible to really understand how crucial journaling is, okay, because it's the starting point, and thanks to AI, we are able to better understand what is so useful the moment that you start jotting things down and bringing information into the system in a natural way. The outcome really pays off, okay? But you have to have a system ready, okay, to process all that workflow.
Correct. And now
And that's it.
We just want to answer one more question here. If you could only pick one tool to go along with your folders, which one would it be?
For me,
That's the
the
wrong
one that I'm
question.
building,
See?
the one that I'm building, but well,
Correct. That's the one that we are building. But this is not something that you start with. It's very easy
right.
to go very fast with AI when it comes to building applications. But if you have no understanding behind databases and UI, UX, and things like this, how everything is interconnected, and you don't even understand the basics of information management, that's why ICOR is tool agnostic. It teaches you these things. So with this in mind, you can do then use whatever tool you want. You understand what tools you actually need in order to achieve what you're looking for, and also build your own apps eventually. This is the foundation that you need, and that's why the ICOR journey is important. And there we have the growth assignment questions that I want to quickly point out again.
Yes. And I would, meanwhile, I would add that instead of tools, try to think in systems, okay? Because the only thing that you need is a system to manage information and a system to manage action. Start with that at a personal level, at an individual level, and you will see how you grow amazingly well, for sure.
Correct. And in these lessons where we talk about everything productivity end to end, starting with note taking and PKM, personal task management, and then we go into the BPM, business project management, and business knowledge management area here, and then even into automation and AI. So you can go through all these lessons, and each lesson describes a concept or workflow of ICOR and asks you for questions, and you will answer them honestly, right? And based on this, you get a score, and then you get an average score. And this is where you see then in this overview where we will also rework this too. But you see immediately the gaps that you have. So you go through this, just answer all the questions per lesson, and you already get an overview what you are not as good at. And it seems I'm really sucking at productivity, but that's demonstration purposes. So now you can perfectly click and go to the lesson, and now you dive deeper into the vertical content, as we keep saying. Here, I'm not good at inner world, outer world, because I answered these questions all with no. So now I can go into the lesson and really understand. I watch the video, I look at the magic slide, I have a TLDR to really get a quick overview. Then you even have the cheat sheet that gives you also still a quick overview what this concept is all about. And then you can really dive deep, because we have then here the different chapters that go really deep into the different entities of this, and then join the discussions below. But this is what we recommend. If you really overwhelmed, just get started with the ICOR journey. Answer these questions, because they give you really insights into yourself. You can even add your own reflection notes here that gives you then a feedback the next time you get back there. And by the way, that's something that our inner circle members get, is the MCP connection that you have inside settings. You have this myICOR MCP. There's also an update coming now with a CLI connection, not only MCP. So your AI will have all the context about your questions that you answered, all the lessons available, all the latest contents, thousands of articles, videos, and so on. You will have access through your local Claude or whatever you use, because we don't want to make an AI available inside our membership where you stuck inside our closed context window that you only have context of myICOR. No, we want you to use your local myPKA with your AI, so it has the context of your life. And now you're connected to myICOR, where it has the context of what tools do you use in your ICOR framework? What answers did you answer in your learning session? With this context, you will have a complete different thing. There's even a new functionality in this MCP where it will check your local myPKA folder if there's anything missing. Talking about upgrades and things that didn't work, it has the context now, so therefore you can even download the expansion packs here through this MCP. So you just say, I want to have these agents, and you just be able to get this through this MCP server without even downloading here a folder. So you see, guys, this was built in 2 months. Please, we are really busy delivering here, and we are sorry still if your questions might get answered with a delay. But this is also something that we are working on hardly now, because from 40 inner circle members, we are now over 500 inner circle members. So this is really something scaling, and we have, in the meantime, let's see, I didn't check, 5,300 total members. So there's a lot of supports that we are trying to cover with just the 2 of us in the business. But there's something new coming too, where AI will surface the things that really need to have our attention, and then we can get back to the important questions to catch up. And that's what we are working on this week. So things should become better next week already. Everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of things we discussed today again. We are as excited as you are, and overwhelmed. I keep saying overwhelmed. Appreciating all the positive feedback that you guys are bringing to the table. This is really amazing. And also thanks for the patience when things are, moving around and resurfacing, because this is all based on your feedback and how you interact with the tool. So this new expansion packs might gives you some worries. Oh, where are the agents gone? Where are the prompts gone from this AI library? But this was nonsense in the first place. Even that you think that might have been useful, it was not, because it is in this expansion pack now there. And these 2 prompts that were there were just generic prompts about take your meeting minutes and things like this. This is not something, and that's why we are proud to launch now this expansion pack session here, and keep growing together. And last but not least, we also introduced over the weekend the new referral program. You can now instantly, just simply, if you're inside the membership, you have here refer a friend. You go there, you can instantly just check and get your referral link. And if you share and people sign up for paid plan, you get $20. Or if you're a creator out there or an influencer, you can actually apply for the affiliate program that gives you more value, 25% ongoing and things like this. But therefore, you need to be a creator, and there you share in an application form what you're doing. But this alone, I think that's really worth. If you work in a company and you think this is useful for your colleagues, you will get $20 for any sign up that they do in a paid account. That's something you requested, by the way, right? It's not something we came up with.
By the way,
every week we got this request either in our inner circle session or people reaching out, and there you go. And that's where we keep delivering the things that you are demanding and sharing our own insights from our own lives.
And the beautiful thing is that we got finally the dreamed backbone that we wanted to have, so that we can keep expanding and consequently all the people inside. And that's the thing, no? That you start from scratch with something, quote, simple, but you can leverage endlessly, because that's what we are doing. And the more we get right now, for instance, we will create another expansion that will be related to individual CRMs. That it's something that has been requested, I don't know how many times in the last years. Okay, well, we're going to share our approach, because we always say the same, okay? Our content should just be used as inspiration, okay? Because we want you to be independent. We don't want you to be, hooked into a system, into a tool, into whatever. We want to deliver the knowledge that allows you to be completely free to choose the setup that you consider that is the one that you should be using based on your use case, okay? And that's what we do, and that's why we keep sharing this expansion, so that you get inspired at all levels from different topics, different approaches, different use cases that we perceive in ourselves or other busy professionals, and that's how we can grow all together. And I think that's quite nice for everyone.
Correct. Nothing more to add for this week, at least. And for inner circle members, we catch you up tomorrow then.
For sure.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.